On today's show, we have Ruth from the NCDC FSBAC Committee Secretariat. Thanks so much for joining me for Afternoon Tea.
Thank you.
So tell us a bit about the NCD FSBAC Committee Secretariat.
NCD FSBAC Committee Secretariat is newly established by NCDC Governor, and with the support from UNDP and the other partners who are doing gender-based violence in NCD, and it's recently established. We have a full secretariat now with 3 case coordinators, gender-based case coordinators, gender-based violence. We have data entry officer and admin officer as well, and I'm the secretariat manager.
Great. What is the purpose of the secretariat?
The purpose of the establishment of the Secretariat was a cry from all the agencies in NCD and PNG doing gender-based violence, which we all know that gender-based violence is a big problem in the country right now. Violence against women, violence against children, violence against girls, it's a big problem, and it's hindering the development of this country. And that was the whole purpose of the governor pushing forward for the Secretariat to be established within NCDC to address gender-based violence within the city. So we have a safe city free from all forms of violence where people can respect and support one another. So that was the whole purpose of establishing the FSBAC Secretariat, so we can be able to have a safer city for women and girls to dwell in the city.
So is it more advocating for GBV or do you do referral pathways as well for women?
For the FSBAC Secretariat NCD, we establish a referral pathways. The pathways that we have established is through all the different agencies who are dealing with gender-based violence, who are attending to victims of violence and the survivors of violence at the moment, part of the NCD FSBAC Secretariat Committee. We have about more than 100 members in the committee, and the role of the committee is more looking at how to collaborate with other agencies within the committee itself, because they are made up of the different agencies, and they come up together and they discuss on how best to address gender-based violence within NCD for the city residents here.
We know that, gender-based violence in PNG, we have some of the highest rates, in the Pacific. How can we work, and not just, the committee is one unit, but how can the whole of PNG individual citizens work towards combating and reducing those stats?
In terms of the gender-based violence, everybody in PNG has a responsibility to respond to gender-based violence in PNG. It's not just agencies who are dealing with gender-based violence issues, but every citizen of PNG has a right to address gender-based violence within their own homes. They could address this right at their homes with their families, at their workplace, at their schools, wherever, within their church environment, wherever they are. They have a responsibility to respond to gender-based violence. That is to prevent it. And more advocacy has to be done. Each person has to take the responsibility. Business houses have a responsibility to respond to gender-based violence as well by creating policies that addresses issues of harassment and issues of violence within workplace and all that. So the same goes to the government agencies too, because with this new gender GESI policy in place, gender equity social inclusion policy that the government has passed, that should also create the pathway, create that environment for issues of gender-based violence to be addressed at the workplace, within the public sector, within the private sector, within the church's environment, within families at home. That's the only way we could be able to address gender-based violence, issues of physical, sexual violence against our women, young girls and children.
Do you think you mentioned advocacy, do you think there needs to be more advocacy? We know that, government can make policies, but in terms of it going down to, 85% of our population live in the rural areas, for it to go down to those people, it never breaks down to the level that they can understand. Do you think we should do more in terms of advocacy?
Yes, definitely. We all know that PNG is a very difficult country. We have 850 plus different languages and cultures, and actually breaking down information down into those different cultures and languages is so challenging. And so yes, we need to do a lot more, because we can't stop doing in Motu, in English and in Pidgin and stop there. We need to translate it further down to our communities, and that's what the government is doing through the NSC directive to establish all the provincial family sexual violence committee secretariat. We're actually doing the pilot for the 6 provinces, and NCD is one of the provinces in the pilot as well. So we want to see how best we could be able to address gender-based violence within our cities for NCDC, because NCDC is the capital city of PNG, and there's so many violence happening in the city. You see it in the paper every day. You see in PNG Loop.
Thanks so much, for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thanks so much for joining me for afternoon tea.
Thank you so much.